folks, welcome back to the Get Wired podcast. Really do appreciate you being here. If you are new here and have no idea who I am or what we're doing, my name's Chris and I'm building a business that suits my lifestyle. And in these Get Wired episodes, essentially, usually we're cutting wire or sorting clothing or doing something while chatting, talking business, talking reselling. But today, I've actually got to go to my new place and I've got a whole bunch of tradies coming to do quotes and stuff. So I am just leveraging the time to be able to record a video on my drive there. So just getting that done and dusted for you guys. So in these episodes, we kind of talk about a little bit of everything. Sometimes it's a rant, sometimes it's, talking about a process that I do. Sometimes, I think last week we spoke about, hiring and how to prepare your staff or how to be prepared to have staff. And today's topic, I have no idea what it is, simply because this was a bit more spontaneous and I'm like, you know what? I just got to make the most of it. So in my mind, there is a couple of things that I do want to talk about, and it's something that we always come back to. But I think it's really important that we continuously listen to it, we continuously learn from it, and we continuously be willing to hear things differently. And I don't have all the answers, folks. I am still figuring it out, which is actually really a good component of what this conversation will be all about, is you just got to keep figuring it out. But the short of it is this, and look, I'm just laughing because I know there's always a lot of people that they don't like this content because it's wishy-washy and, motivation or whatever. But at the end of the day, I want to motivate, I want to inspire, and I want to encourage you to go after what it is that you're doing, be it reselling, be it business, be it whatever. So that's why I talk the way I do, and because it's worked for me. So if it's worked for me, I'm pretty sure anyone else can do the same thing. But really what I want to, hash on today is just being willing to get out there and continue to give it a go. Just continue to show up, continue to build it out, and continue to pivot and adjust. Now, there's been a little bit of, over the last 3 months, I have been probably complaining more about sales being lower than ever. And, I do apologize if you come here and you listen to me complaining about it. But if I zoom out, just to give some sense of the situation, we're still doing better than last year. So we're not really in a really bad situation. We're only in a challenging situation simply because I have more at risk. I have more at, leverage in terms of there's more things that I'm accountable for. So that's why it's a bit more pressure. But, we are still up from last year. We're doing about 105,000 on eBay every 90 days, which is an amazing number. I can't even complain about that. And we're probably doing closer to about 115, 120 with all the wholesale and non-eBay sales. So we're in a very good position. So I just want to frame that and make sure people understand that I'm not here to have a nag. And really, maybe on your journey, you're doing $5,000 every 90 days, $20,000, $50,000, more or less. Maybe you're doing more than me, even great. But what I'm trying to say is I've had a bit of chatter come through, having me say that sales are down, saying eBay is dead. This is why I've decided not to stop selling anymore. Do you think this is the end of eBay? Or even people saying, oh, you wait and see, 3 months, Chris won't exist, or just comments like that. And look, none of it's directed necessarily at me. I think people are just making themselves feel better about being able to say, oh yeah, I got out because it's dead. It's not worth doing. Guys, I'm still doing $100,000 in revenue. Yes, it's revenue on eBay. So clearly people want what I have. It's more around the numbers behind that, which is probably the bigger question about, profits and things like that. But what I'm really here to talk to you about or give my opinion on is your ability to be able to continue to show up and push through those dips. And this is a message to myself. Just because you have 1 week down, 1 day down, 1 month down, heck, if you're looking at this from a big perspective, me knowing that I'm willing to go do this for a very long time, then 1 year, even if 1 year is down, it really is not the end of the world, right? But in the moment, it feels like it is. In the moment, it feels like, oh, I can't keep doing it like this. In the moment, it feels like, how am I going to get out of this? But a year ago, I was probably doing $75,000 every 90 days. And I never, sure, I always wanted to be doing $100,000 every 90 days, but you don't necessarily really fathom it. You don't really have this idea around it because you don't know what you don't know. So how could you even fathom and experience that? And now that I have, I'm like, okay, well, now I know what's capable, so clearly I can do more, right? And you're able to continuously grow on top of that. Now, each year, there's been bigger challenges, whether it's on eBay, whether it's the landscape of, just e-commerce, business, reselling, if that's what you want to call it. There's been challenges like no other before. That's because there's new people doing it. There's new software, there's new competitors, there's more policy, there's more challenges to, really get you working and being innovative, right? And I've spoken about this before. Like, if you're going to start doing a business, you want to do a SWOT analysis. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What are your opportunities? What are your threats? And really making sure you're building that out. Now, anyone can literally start on eBay, but it's the ones that are happy to stick around, back themselves, and be willing to see it long term. And I please, this video, I'm not here to put a separation between part-timers, full-timers, you're building a dream versus you're doing it as a side hobby. You do you, right? I'm not here to say that anyone's better than anyone else. Like, you do what you want to do in terms of what you want to build. Be it to support, getting a holiday every year. Be it trying to build a bigger dream like myself. Or maybe you just want to have, a nice little $50,000 coming through. I don't know. I don't really care. Like, I want you to do what you want to do. But let's not try and separate people or anything like that, because at the end of the day, you're doing what you're doing because you want an outcome. And if you want an outcome, this is the real point of the whole conversation today. If you want an outcome, you have to be willing to do what will get you to that outcome. And when you don't see the results that you want, you have to be willing to adjust. You have to adjust the goalposts in order to get to the outcome that you want, right? If you're playing a football game, AFL, right, and you want to score 100 points, or get a score of 100, you either have to kick 100 one-pointers or a whole bunch of six-pointers, right? That's the only way to get 100 points. There's no other way to do it, right? And now if the rules change, which I believe the rules change all the time in AFL every year, I don't follow it, but I understand, I've been seeing it in the headlines. It means, okay, now how we do that, we have to do it differently. We can no longer do it this way, or we have to now apply it that way. Or maybe there's a new team, and this team is an up and coming, and this team they're the strongest that anyone has ever seen. So how do you compete with that? How do you be able to go up against that challenge? How can you even stand up against it? You got to find. You have to strategize. You have to learn to play defense. You have to be on the attack. You have to, maybe hire someone better. You may have to have a better game plan. You may have to train differently. All of these different things. It is no different. It is no different. The same thing applies for business. Just because you're having a down period doesn't mean that this is the definition of where you want it to be. It is only the definition of where you want it to be if that's what you let it be, right? I could say right now, you know what, we're not making enough profit. It's too stressful. I'm giving up. I'm packing up shop. When really next month could be our best month yet, right? I mean, that's the reality of it. And that's why I will continuously be very, very bullish in building out this business and businesses and the other dreams that I have, because I feel like in the long run, the economy, especially in pre-owned clothing, pre-loved clothing, secondhand goods, continues to build, to thrive, to get bigger and bigger every year. And one thing I think people forget, this is a long tail plan, but as we scale, like the world economy in terms of producing mass goods, there's a couple of different things that happen. Quality, not always, this is a very big generalization. Quality tends to go down when we mass produce things, right? Which means more and more stuff is getting produced, which means maybe more compromises are being made in terms of the ability to produce it at a high quality. Which means the good quality stuff, which I find a lot of secondhand goods, like the older stuff, especially in clothing, 90s vintage clothing, is so much better quality than the stuff we have today. Now, with that in mind, that means the stuff of vintage or the stuff of an older era that is a good quality, right? It becomes less and less available, and it becomes something which is a bit of a scarcity. And this is not why you should start reselling, but I'm just saying, so therefore, people want that quality. People still want that. And if there isn't a lot of it, people will pay more for it. But it's also when it comes down to any types of product, you know, you hear about it. I mean, if you're my age, I'm 34, you know, we hear it from, you know, maybe our parents and say, oh, you know, they don't make these things like they used to, or it's nowhere near as much quality, or now it's all just cheap as chips. And I get it. A lot of stuff is cheap because people want a cheap thing. But there is a lot of people that want quality as well. So you got to think about that. Is like when you're looking at this broader, I guess, economy or environment or landscape of reselling, especially if you're selling pre-owned goods or pre-loved goods, clothing or non-clothing, you got to understand is, well, what is the stuff you're selling? If you're trying to sell pre-owned, pre-loved Sheen, which, you know, is a lower end quality, it's getting better, then it's going to be harder to sell it at a really high price. Whereas if you've got, you know, vintage Levi's, one, it's already rare, and two, it's good quality, and three, there's trends to it, there's a whole, you know, outfitting perspective to it, there's a whole identity behind it, you know, in terms of what that stands for, what image does it present. So there's a lot more sophistication to it, therefore you're able to sell it at a higher price. Whereas if you try and sell modern Levi's, secondhand again, you don't get maybe as much as you do for the vintage, right? So you see my point. Now that doesn't roll over to everything, you know, for a 1-for-1 ratio. I'm just giving an example. But coming back to my point around people saying, you know, do you think this is the end of eBay? Do you think this is the end of selling online? Do you think this is the end of, you know, the good days on eBay and all this stuff? No, I think it's just getting started. You know, eBay's good. Oh, geez, someone just nearly slid off the road. eBay's going to be in Australia introducing eBay Live. They're doubling down in terms of putting high-end leadership in like head of categories for pre-loved goods and re-commerce and all these areas. They're doubling down. They're investing heavily. And I tell you, it's only a matter of time that, you know, other platforms do the same. Right, we already see it. I mean, Amazon does pre-owned goods. They're not necessarily doing clothing here in Australia. But it's only a matter of time that will start to become another thing, and they tap into it because there is a billion-dollar industry, right? If not hundreds and hundreds of million-dollar industry of potential value, and platforms want a taste of that pie. They want a taste of that. So do we, right? But we're the ones providing the, you know, obviously the stock to the platform for the platform to be able to sell, for the platform to be able to make money. Now they want to be able to make their platforms the best for people to be able to do that, because they want to be able to get a piece of, let's just call it $1 billion. They want a piece of the $1 billion. And the only way to do that is to provide a platform, to provide leadership, to provide strategy, to provide a vision, to provide a place that it makes it easy, makes it simple for both buyers and sellers. And as more of that becomes available and the more they make it easier, the more money they will make. Right? That's how business works. They see the value, they see the need, they see the opportunity, they double down on that, and they take a piece of that opportunity. Just like you, just like me, you got to find what is it that is your opportunity. What is it that you like to sell? What is it that you want to put out to the world and, you know, get some money for? You don't have to be making millions. Yes, we all want to be making millions, and that's a whole other conversation around profit. But I think people also, sorry, I'm digressing from the topic here, but when it comes to profit, it's another whole conversation. I'll try not to get worked up on that. But regardless of what I'm trying to say is like, there's always going to be more things that people want, and people are going to want to get it at a valuable price. That valuable price is obviously a perceived value price of what they perceive it to be worth, and you need to be able to, you have the power to be able to dictate what some of that perceived value is, if you're able to make your items look perceivable in more value. Or they can just say, this is a deal so good that I'd be silly to say no. And that's the opportunity that we have. Now, obviously being secondhand, some people do not even entertain getting involved with pre-owned goods because it's disgusting, they don't like it, it's been used by someone else. But other people are pushing more and more and more onto it. So that world will continue to exist, especially if we continue to mass produce. There's always going to be more stock, more pre-owned goods, more things like that that people want. And you got to remember, there's pre-owned goods which are on the element of people want to consume it, people want to use it, people want to have it, in sense of becoming part of their brand identity, wear it, or, you know, own it, or show it, or, you know, use it, or leverage the cheaper alternative. But then pre-owned stuff also, there's a huge piece of that which is collectible. You know, even media, VHS, yeah, sure, it's not worth a lot, but, you know, people collect it. People collect DVDs. People collect all that kind of stuff. Media, it's pre-owned. People collect the video games. People collect collectibles. People collect clothes. I guarantee you, people collect lawnmowers, right? Pre-owned lawnmowers. So there's a huge element for it. So the answer to that whole chatter that I keep hearing around, this is it, eBay's dead, it's just not worth it anymore, la-di-da-da-da. No. It is worth it. And eBay isn't dead, and there's still plenty of opportunity. You've just got to be willing to focus on building your inputs to get the outcomes that you want. And that may mean you have to do things a little differently. It may mean you have to spice things up, change the way you play the game. I've continuously changed the way we've played the game. I wasn't even doing clothing 2.5 years ago. Now we do clothing. We're doing almost $30,000 worth of clothing a month. It's well worth investing your time, your effort into understanding what you want to sell, and then finding the opportunity for that item to sell, and then doubling down on it. I'm not here to say go sell clothing. I'm not here to even go sell on eBay. What I'm here to say is like, in terms of the climate, in terms of, is there even a place for someone new to get into it? Sure, you can get into it. But every year there becomes new challenges, more things that we have to think about. But that doesn't mean that it's not going to be worth it, and it doesn't mean that you can't do it. Just because people are saying it's down, people are saying it's dead, all these different things, there could be a lot of reasons for that, right? It might not even have anything to do with you. It might not have anything to do with your store. It might not have anything to do with your product. It could just simply be because of a bad time in the economy, or the climate of the economy, like people's financials, etc., etc. But, you know, you just got to be willing to adapt, willing to adjust, and trends will change, and people will change, and, you know, policy will change. There's always going to be change. That doesn't mean you don't do it and you don't continue to thrive. Majority of the ones that I've seen disappear is because they've seen a painted picture of what they believe is possible, but then trying to attain that outcome becomes too hard. It seems unrealistic and not possible. And for those that may think I'm speaking a dream, you know, I'm smoking something because I'm talking about something that doesn't seem to be a reality of making millions of reselling, or it's not a, you know, big time job or anything like that. It's like, again, it's like it all comes down to your own perception. It comes down to what you see as possible. It comes down to what you want to see possible as well, right? I mean, just because something doesn't exist, or just because something doesn't seem easy, just because something isn't realistic, doesn't mean it's not possible, right? And the beauty of that is like, you get to define when enough is enough. You get to define, do you want to do this anymore? You get to define it all. But if you're not defining what it is you want to achieve and the goals you want in business, or whatever it is you're doing, then it's very hard to be able to put the motivation, the energy, the focus, the consistency into it if you don't know where you're going. Now, I don't know how many sales I'll have today. I can look at my data and see that, okay, for the last 3 months, we've averaged 40 a day, but we're down this month. We're probably going to get 20 sales today. That's what I know. But I know that we could possibly have more than that. We could possibly have less than that. And I understand what's coming and what's not. But I also understand that if I want more than that, I have to do something that is going to enable that. What does that something look like? It could be better product. It could be list more. It could be running a sale. It could be getting a new partnership. It could be finding better stock. It could be providing a better service. It could be posting it quicker. It could be having, you know, conversations with repeat customers. All these different things. There's so many levers that you can do to be able to create that opportunity, create that value, and bring it to life. That's it from me, folks. Great little rant. Yeah, I enjoyed this conversation. These are good. Probably keep doing these, actually, because I'm going to be doing this a fair bit. So appreciate you all. Take it easy. If you do have any questions or you want to continue the conversation, remember to be kind, Happy to hear people's opinions. Don't make it personal, and don't attack anyone else in the comments. Let's just have an adult conversation. What do you think? Maybe it's not your cup of tea. Maybe you think, this is not possible. It's fair enough. It's fair enough. All right, team, I will see you again next week, and we'll do it all again. Ciao.